Welcome back to the Healthy Business Podcast. I'm Ty King with the American Business Engine, and with me today,
Jessica Tolliver with Cam Collaborative.
Cam Collaborative. So how are you?
I'm good.
Yeah?
Yeah, we were just talking. That's a weird week, and I'm kind of like the insane person walking myself back and forth in the corner, but I'm good.
Feel that very 100%. And like I don't know. This week, trying to, when you have personal stuff going on in your life, and then it's like it tries to overtake everything else, and like everybody that's living has some sort of tragedy or maybe battling depression or whatever it is. But like I don't know. Sometimes as a business owner, when so much rides on your shoulders, especially if you have employees, especially if you have clients that are expecting daily stuff from. It's like you've got to figure out a way to get over that mountain. And for me, it's just keeping myself busy, throwing myself out there as much as I possibly can, to where I just don't have time to think about the other thing. You know what I mean? It's like I think about it enough, but not enough to where it just puts me in a slump.
Well, we talked about before how being an entrepreneur or a business owner is a completely different beast than being an employee, because you have to be on all the time. You have to be, you're thinking about your business all the time. Even in your times off, you're still looking back at what's going on with my business. So when parts of your home life really start affecting you, how do you balance that? Because you can't really compartmentalize. You can't say, okay, this is home and this is work, like you can when you clock out 9 to 5, but you still have to separate it somehow. It's not easy.
No, it's not. And so scheduling a lot of meetings and a lot of the networking. Oh man, it's been a huge week for networking and all kinds of crazy things. So I don't know. You haven't told me what you wanted to talk about yet this week.
It's actually, you almost already said it.
Almost said it.
And the reason I picked this, and one is because I didn't want to tell you because I wanted it to be a surprise, like so that you'd have some live action. But it came up in conversation. So I run a nonprofit, and my assistant Lena, she's actually being the face of the nonprofit with her networking. So she's joining some networking groups, and she's starting to get out there to people and just kind of get the feel for things. That's something she's never done. She had her very first one-to-one yesterday. And first, she's like, I don't know what a one-to-one is. I'm like, well, it's one person to one person. I'm trying to explain it to her, and she just has no, really idea. And it got me thinking, I bet she's not the only one that doesn't really know what to expect in a one-to-one. So I thought, what better way than to come up with the topic and present it to our marketing networking expert. And we could kind of go over some of the things that you can talk about. I mean, we talked several times about how selling isn't about selling. You're not a carny. You're not sitting there going, $5 buy my widget, because that's going to drive people away. But you still have to somehow have a conversation, get your point across, be able to showcase yourself and be memorable to that person so that they can then refer you later.
Right.
So let's maybe unpack that a little bit.
Okay, yeah. So for me, first of all, the one-to-ones and doing this type of thing, that's why I do what I do as far as like the websites and social media management, marketing and all that stuff. That stuff is fun, and it's like working on an art project, but it really gets me to what I really want to do, which is meet and talk to people and hear the stories of the people that are running these businesses. And so that's, I think there's a huge disconnect between the general public and like how they see somebody that owns a business. We've talked about this before. Just because you own a business doesn't mean that you're rich, right? It usually means that you're making it work, whatever it is. You're pulling your bootstraps up and you're trying to make something work.
It also doesn't mean you know everyone in the industry.
Right.
When I was in transportation, I would say, someone would say, what do you do? I'm like, I'm in logistics. And they'd say, oh, I got a cousin who works for this trucking company. Like, that's a global company.
Yeah, right.
I don't know every driver.
Right, exactly. So getting to know those stories and hear why somebody opened a business or like what led them down the road to do this, and like you'd be surprised by the type of things that. I mean, they all sound like documentaries, but you're getting the live interview right there and in person, and like you and that person are talking about it's a different kind of conversation or form of communication, I would say. Not to get to like high art or whatever, but I mean it's really it's an intimate conversation that you're having with somebody. They might be a complete stranger. You never met this person before in your life, but you're hearing some of the details that really drive this human being to do what they do. What gets them out of bed every morning? Why do they take on all those many roles and wear so many hats for their business when that's not what they wanted to do in the first place? They wanted to provide this one type of service for people because they saw a need, right? But it comes along with all this other stuff. And so that's always interesting to me. It's like, why do you continue to do it? I was like, I know why I do, and I'll tell you why, that type of thing. But
I mean, it's a form of dating. Like, you're legitimately going in there and saying, hey, this is who I am and who are you, and let's see if we can make
and you can go
work.
in within, like, there's so many different mindsets you can come into this with. So it's like the one, like the dating, you can come in, because dating, obviously you're coming in, you're like, okay, is this somebody that I'm going to be interested in actually evolving this relationship with, right? And so with business too, one-to-ones, if you meet somebody and be like, am I interested in referring business to this person or taking this person on as a client, or whoever they work with, am I interested in taking their clients on as my clients? Or it can just be, like I said, a one-to-one. Somebody might just need, that day, they just needed to talk to somebody, as somebody that understands what's going on. Because I know I can't talk to my wife about a lot of the things that go on in business because it just goes right over her head. And she's not interested in it anyway. So
well, and then my husband's the same, so I'm not this about her, but oh yeah, baby, yeah. I mean, how helpful is that?
Or I'll be like, I don't understand how to do this. She'll be like, oh, well, just do it. And oh, okay, thanks. That was helpful.
Just gonna flip that switch.
Yeah, cool. It's like I gotta talk to somebody else who understands about this. And so one-to-ones I think are particularly important because when you're in a group setting, you don't really get all the full story of like what somebody does, and even like a presentation. If everybody's sitting in the group, one person has a 10-minute presentation about what it is that they do, and if it's insurance especially, like you're usually like, oh my god, I'm gonna fight going to sleep right now because like especially if you don't have any interest in insurance. Watching somebody within a group and then even communicating in a group level is so much different than having that one-to-one. Like you said, it's more tremendous, like dating, like you said. So like you're getting to know that person on a personal level, and they're getting to hear your story. So, what do you absolutely need to do when you have a one-to-one? I would say number one is be authentic. Don't be fake. Don't go in, I don't care who it is that you're meeting with. If you are meeting with somebody with really deep pockets and like this potentially could be a client, and you're like, okay, well now I've got to be this other guy that I'm not in real life, you know what I mean? Because I assume that this is the personality this person wants to talk to and do business with. And so but people...
And if they are successful, they're going to see right through that.
Yes. And especially if you have deep pockets, lots of people know you have deep pockets. And so they are well aware of what a kiss ass is. You know what I mean? They have experienced plenty of them, and they will read right through that. So yeah, be authentic, be yourself, be honest and as relaxed as you possibly can be. That's the best way to go about it, because otherwise you're going to be found out if you're acting fake or whatever. So yeah, that's the most incredible thing, and you never know what anybody else is going through. Like I had a meeting this week, and somebody referred her over to me because she was opening her own business, a health business. And of course, I always bring you up whenever we're talking about those things. Like, Jessica, and of course, somebody knows you somehow. But they were referred to me from some people that I knew at a bank. Okay, bank, yoga, website design. I mean, it was like, it doesn't seem like any of this goes together. But she said that she had heard that I had a story, behind me, and like wanted to hear more about it. And I was like, okay. And so we sat there, we talked about it, about my whole prison experience and all that. And like she was really grateful for that whole story and like loved it, and because her son's going through a similar thing right now. And I'm like, well, everybody's been touched by this. And so I was like, we have the highest incarceration rate in the country, in the world. This country does. So yeah, and there's not many people, like when you're in that type of situation, that there's not many people that you can talk to about that. And that's why she wanted to. One of her ideas was opening a yoga studio specifically for like the parents of the incarcerated, that type of thing. So that was interesting to me, because I was like, well, that would have been useful to my mom when I was inside, that type of thing. But regardless, I've talked to people that have told me about, what started them was going through a really bad divorce, or maybe they lost a child, or maybe it was because they went to college and found out that they loved something else. You got a full degree, and I know a person that does mortgage loans and has a degree in marine biology. You know what I mean? It's like what you go to college for and get your degree in is not necessarily what you're going to be doing.
That stems from the big push that we have, pushing kids into college, picking a career, when not everyone.
So that's exactly what I was going to roll into this, because I had the chance to speak for Arkansas Scholars Program. So they had me go to an 8th grade class and tell this group of 8th graders, that, this whole presentation that Arkansas Scholars had already built for me, and slides and everything, and talking about, the importance of education when you're young and all that stuff, and it is. But like their one path was like, you either graduate high school and then you go to college, or you go to the military, then go into college, and that's life. But like they're like, one other option was like incarceration, but it's like you either do the good thing or you do the bad thing. The good thing is to go to college and get into debt and never be able to pay that off for years and years and years and years. And I was like, oh man, this is I was grateful for the opportunity, and I didn't want to be rude, you know what I mean? But I was like, there are so many different paths to success. And that's what I was telling the whole group. And so it wasn't so much of a one-to-one type of thing, but I was calling kids out and being like, how do you guys feel about this? What do you want to do right now? A lot of people wanted to be actors, or be in the film industry, but felt like they would have to move somewhere else outside of Arkansas. And I was like, there's actually a
Huge
really
film industry here,
yeah, there's a great indie film industry right here in Arkansas that's really keeps blowing up. Like the more films that are made here, the more they're racking up at the film festivals. And one of the kids wanted to be he really didn't know. He wanted to be in politics. He wanted a political science degree, okay? But he didn't want to work underneath anybody.
Just wants to go straight to president?
I was like, well, even the president has people over him. So I was like, I don't know where you're going to find that. I guess you could take that and then go start your own country or something. buy an island and you start your own hierarchy. You at the top there.
It is interesting that you say that, because I just finished up my Toastmaster Junior program that I do with a nonprofit, and that's so rewarding. We had our banquet on Tuesday, and one of the kids, he comes up, gives a speech, and he thanks us for the program, and he says, I want to be a truck driver. Yeah. Because I make $30 an hour. And I'm thinking, okay, I mean, truck driver is an honest gig. We need supply chain issues. We need those. Right. But that's not the only way to make $30 an hour. Right. Right. You can be a plumber. You can be an electrician. You can be a myriad of things that don't require a college degree that can get you $30+ an hour. And it was interesting because at some point someone had said that's how much they make, and then he set his sights on it. Yeah. And to your point, there's other paths. Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. And kids don't know about
all sorts of other paths, and like they were, I don't know. So at the end, one of the things we were supposed to do was go to this website that was called like Real Arkansas or something like that. Anyways, it's like a life simulator where it will tell you how much you are going to be owing per month based on your lifestyle, right? So you select, are you going to get like the basic necessities of hygiene? Are you going to own a car or a used car or a luxury car, that type of thing? And then it goes through with like cable and phones and all that. Anyways, I don't know where they get their prices because a lot of this stuff is outdated. And like the entertainment part was like $150. I was like, people pay like
one meal.
Yeah. I was like, that's insane. I was like, per month. And I was like, people do streaming services now, and they usually, if you're going to college, you're gonna be thrifty. You're probably gonna go on Craigslist and look up whatever free furniture is there. That's what you're gonna be furnishing your dorm or apartment with, and you're probably gonna ride on one of your family members' subscription services to stream. Stuff. You're not be going out and buying movies or renting. I was like, nobody does that anymore. Kind of outdated. But anyways, by the end, you had to where like their bills just off the basics were like more than what I pay for my house. You know what I mean? I was like, this isn't really realistic right now. But
well, I mean, and that to that point though, kids have no idea how much it costs to exist.
Yeah, for sure. And it would so that we take those the numbers of like what are they paying per month, and like then you look up an occupation that pays that amount. And so like one guy, so the one kid I pulled up there, and we went through there, and he was like, yeah, I'm gonna buy a car, and I'm gonna buy and buy a house. And I was like, right out of high school, you're gonna do that? He's like, yeah, that's what I count on. And he wanted to be a cardiologist, and I was like, oh man, you're gonna be in college for a while. You realize you're not gonna be working as a cardiologist for a long time. And I was like, there's gonna be a large period of time where from between high school and getting that career that you're going to have to find out how to pay for your stuff there.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I mean, you can get all kinds of grants or whatever for going, or
but
scholarships,
you still have to put the time in.
But there's still, you still have a lot to pay for, even without the other than scholarships. Anyway, so we kind of diverged everywhere, but yeah, that was it was interesting. But I told them my whole story too, and so because the city director here asked me to. He was like, "Oh, Ty's got a good story to tell," and I was like, "Oh my God, am I really about to tell a full class of 8th graders of this whole story?" And so like the room was dead silent when I finished, and I was like, "Is that scary?" And then like some girl was like, "No, that's actually pretty cool." And like they had all kinds of questions about prison, and I was like, "I didn't expect this is where I was gonna go." And I was like, "Okay," because one kid at the beginning had said, he said, "I'd like to go." We were talking about the incarceration thing. He didn't know that I had been before. And he's like, "I'd like to go to jail, just to go see." He would just to walk around, and I was like, "One that's like haunted, or one that's still inhabited by inmates?"
Like,
and he was
do you
like,
want to go to Alcatraz, or do you want to go?
Yeah, exactly. And he was like, "No, the one that's still got the inmates in there." He said, "I think it'd be funny. I just walk around laughing." And I was like, "Okay." When I told him he had some questions at the end when I told him that I had already been, and he was like, "Is it like this?" And I was like, "Yeah, it's a lot like that." And I told him, I was like, "You definitely don't want to go. This isn't just like the Scared Straight program. I can tell you some real stuff that happens. Yeah, it'll horrify you the rest of your life. I promise you."
For me, I think a lot of it, I'm very similar as far as looking at those background stories. I make sure when I'm doing a one-to-one is to get to know them, and not so much because I'm interested, but people want to feel important, and they're more likely to remember me if they felt like they were listened to. And I know that's kind of a sales pitchy type thing, but I do ask a lot of open-ended questions. I really dig into whatever they're willing to tell me, and you'd be surprised. People really open up and give you those stories.
Oh man, yes.
Things that maybe they wouldn't have thought in a million years they would have told you, and it's fascinating. But I found that if I do that, they're more interested in what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Than if we just walk in and go like, "Hey, here's my business. This is what I sell," and then they're like, "Okay, just another professional, whatever."
Exactly. Let's say for me, cause like how many marketers are there? There's so many freaking people that are just opened up marketing businesses, and like I said, over the COVID, they blew up, and everybody's doing it now because you just can, right? It's the low overhead, the fun thing to do for people, and I'm like,
yeah, I ran a Facebook ad. I'm a marketer.
Yeah, it's like, oh my God, I've been doing this for 20 years, and so like my edge is different than everybody else's, and so like anyways, so I'm having to explain that story to a lot of people, and I guess that's what makes it different, and that's why I don't just jump into here's what I do websites and social media, and then I help you use those as tools to grow your business and yada yada yada. It's like, yeah, those are true, but like what really draws people in to become clients or want to refer business over is the human story, the human element behind it. If I'm just a fake person that just wants to get their money, and it's obvious that I'm doing that, so like when you're saying, when you're going in and you're having those conversations and people open up to you, but it's because you're being authentic, and you have to go in there with the mindset that you actually want to hear this person's story. For me, that's a joy. That's natural to me because I love hearing those things. But like they will, I mean, definitely like it's like us sitting here at this table doing the podcast, right? It's just us sitting here, even though thousands of people or whatever can watch it on YouTube and podcasts. We're having a conversation. It's just us in the room, and so that's kind of how I approach the same thing. But like it's body language, a lot of it, where I'll ask a question or I'll talk. I know I've been talking a lot on this podcast, but like usually I don't, right? But I like asking questions and like piping in wherever I can to give them comfort, so we can find some sort of relatable ground. You know what I mean? And also seem interested instead of just constantly while they're talking, I'm on my phone. Just scrolling. I mean, that shows somebody, well, this person isn't really real or interested in what I'm trying to say. And so like they're less likely to do business with you in the future because of that. So like give them your full attention. That's what you're there for. That's what a one-to-one is. And so it's just two people talking to each other. I know, hard concept to grasp these days, right?
Well, I mean, it can seem intimidating if you're not used to being in that side of the business.
Sure.
I think I mentioned before, my husband got into sales one time, and he kept going to these sales meetings and trying to sell, and I'm like, stop. No one cares about your widget. You need you need to go in there and be yourself.
Yes.
Be personable, be authentic, be part of the conversation. And lo and behold, when he did that, he started getting the sales.
And I think a lot of it has to do with, I mean, just like media influences us in ways we don't really know about. And we've talked about that before. But like we see The Wolf of Wall Street, or it's movies like that where you got the guy that made $1 million because he went in and sold, and that's all he was driven
closer,
for.
Yeah.
I'm a real closer and seller type. And that the show I'm watching right now, the Super Pumped, I told you about. It's about the story of Uber. Like that's 100% that guy. Like he is not trying to hear about anybody says. Like whenever he goes into a meeting or whatever, he is prepared. Like down to the T. He knows how he's going to hook them. He knows how he's going to make them fall into his little
web,
trap. Yeah, his little trap of words, and then he's going to come back with them and be like, well, they absolutely cannot turn him down for the sell. Like he introduced it in this last episode I saw. He introduced himself. What's the guy? Travis is the guy's name. He was like, my friends call me, or he said, my enemies call me Travis. My friends call me his initials, whatever, TJ or whatever it was. And he said, and my business partners call me a paycheck. And like he was like sold the guy off of like his confidence of being able to do that, and that's great. I love the show because his backer, the venture capitalist, Bill Gurley, is a real life guy, but he is very much in the realm of what we're talking about here, like being authentic. Like he only invests in companies if he meets with the person that's behind those companies and believes in that person, that they can be a good person and keep some. So yes, he wants it to be very equitable. You know what I mean? He wants a good return and can grow the business and all that stuff, but also he wants to make sure it's the right person as the CEO. Because he said, just because you have a great idea doesn't mean you're the right person to drive for it. So he gave him a chance, but it's really backfiring on him with Travis because oh my gosh, I'm really excited because I don't know the whole story about Uber, or I haven't read the book that this is based on, and so I'm really excited to see where this goes because I mean Uber is still a thing, right? You know, so and then we have Uber Eats and then all this other stuff. So I'm excited about it. But anyways, yeah, I think our minds and like our opinions of other people. Or like what we should be in a certain situation are very heavily influenced by media. So if we have a mindset like what you're saying, if your husband was coming into the meetings, we'd be like, okay, well, they don't care anything about me or my life or anything that's going on or what my opinion on any subject except for they want to know about what it is that I sell, right? But it's not true. That's
right.
Because we're humans, because we're
social beings.
Yeah, exactly. So we're we're designed to have a sense of belonging, and so we want
create
to relate.
Connections.
Yes.
Our brains like to tie things together. So I mean,
for sure.
That's exactly it. You have to be able to give those tendrils to the person you're talking to, and this goes in with this. This is not just with one-to-ones. This is with clients. This is with potential employees. This is with everything. Be genuinely interested.
Sure. I mean, like yesterday. Okay, so I had a really interesting one yesterday. I know I've had a lot of one-on-ones this week. I keep jumping in here. So this was one I've never had before, right? So I love meeting other people that are in the marketing field, especially when they come in. If they join the chamber, I'm especially interested in it and being like, hey, how can we maybe collaborate? Or I'd just like to get to know you and how can I help you grow?
Yeah, marketing is huge. Where's your niche?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And I mean, I'm happy to show them like what I've done to grow mine and see if I can help them in any way. I want to meet the people behind it, you know what I mean? Because I want to know, just like I was talking about, you want to know who it is that you're referring business to or you're referring your clients to. Because I don't want to just give somebody, if I don't want to specialize in this graphic design, this logo creation, right? And I've got this client that's got me building their website. I want to be able to refer them over to somebody that can actually do the graphic design justice, of course, but is also communicative and is also an understanding person, is not going to be snappy, is going to actually take feedback with a,
If you refer
good attitude.
someone, people judge you based on your referrals. So if you just refer random people, then they start getting bad service from your referrals. They stop valuing your opinion.
Yeah.
But if you make sure you vet your referrals and give, like, I know this guy, he did a thing for here, or sometimes I'll just say, I don't know this, I've never used their business, but it's a good person, or I'll make that type of referral, then I feel like the person who I'm referring to has an expectation based on my recommendation.
Yeah. And the meeting I had yesterday, so this company just joined, and so I went to go meet with her yesterday, just to go talk, and because same type of person, wants to meet other marketers and stuff in the area, just moved to the Little Rock area. So listen to her story. So she's from Ukraine, and we've got a lot lot going on in Ukraine. If you haven't been paying attention to the news, we got a lot going on, right?
In case you're under a rock.
In case you're living in a cave and don't talk to anybody. So it was interesting, the conversations we were having about, her growing up in Kiev and like the jobs that she was working there. Hilariously, so she was taking, like the Jackass movies and stuff like that. So Steve-O from the Jackass movies had his own show at one point. And so her job while she was in Kiev after she graduated college was to translate Steve-O's show.
Oh my.
Probably the most crude stuff you could think of, and was translating that into their language there in Russian too. And she's like, well, you guys, your words are like this long, right? But when you translate it into our language, it's like that long. So like I'm trying to have to cram an idea into like this with just a few words, and it's always like a really nasty thing that they just said or did. So I was like, well, that's a crazy beginning there. But
Right.
I moved to Branson, started doing a lot with apparently there's a huge community of Russian people in Branson, Missouri. Had no idea.
Didn't know that either.
Had no idea. Because I was wondering, I was like, what is that like when you like your first experience in the United States of America is the South. You know what I mean? I was like, you moved to Missouri before you even saw New York or Washington or LA or California. Like you saw Missouri and was like, this is the United States. She said, yeah. She said it was kind of weird because I got off the plane and there was actually somebody there with a real cowboy hat. She said, I had no idea that was a real thing. She said, I thought it was just movies. I was like, okay. Yeah. And then she said she saw a pear-shaped man in overalls. And I was like, yep, they're pretty common out here. Yes.
Plentiful
It's
of this.
not just movies, yeah.
There's stereotypes for a reason.
But while we were talking, so we were talking about like what she specializes in and what I do and like how we could collaborate and all that stuff. While we're doing that, her phone is just blowing up with messages. And she said it's friends and family that are still over there in the Ukraine area that are just doing their daily check-ins. Hey, I'm still alive. Hey, I'm good. I'm okay. Today. And she was telling me that what we see on the news is not actually, actually what's being actually being done over there. And so, like, if you're a man with any less than 3 children, you're having to stay and fight for the military, whether you are handicapped or not. If you're in a wheelchair and blind, doesn't matter. They're going to hand you a gun and you're going to sit on a street corner.
Point in the right direction.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And so that's man, that's crazy. And so like, you never would know. I mean, obviously she had the accent, you know what I mean. But I mean, like if listening to her story and like what's going on with that person, right? Very capable person, very talented. Showed me her work, and it's awesome. So we were looking at her portfolio of all that, but all the while, you wouldn't know that this very tragic thing was going on in their life. And so we talked for a long time about the conversation. That's how you relate to people as people. And I don't know. It's that simple, but it's sad that we even have to talk about that and bring it up. But it happens a lot to where we don't really. It's the standard answer of like, when you go to like networking events or you step outside or whatever, or I'm talking to somebody on the elevator on the way up, and it's just, oh, good morning, how are you? Good. It's like it's so it's like just so it's not awkward between us, let's just say something. You know what I mean? Even though it's autonomous, or like automatic or I don't know. I hate automatic answers where it's like, how are you? Oh, I'm good. And it's like, no, I saw what you've been talking about on Facebook. I know you're not good. So what were you gonna say? Sorry, I stepped all over you.
It's kind of in the same lines. It's elevator speeches are like speed dating.
Yeah.
And to that point, lots of people don't date because they don't know how to meet people because they're not interested. I mean, how many people do you know that are like, I don't like people? Well, that's your choice. But if you don't like people, then you can not like crowds and still like people. Like I can't stand.
But
crowds.
you like somebody, you know what I mean?
I think humans are fascinating.
Yeah.
I almost look through the eyes of an alien when I see people doing things like restaurants fascinating. Like people gather in this place and everyone sits at these tables, and then it's just. If you watch people, how they move and interact in the world, I find that fascinating, and how they make decisions about their lives, which is why I love talking to new business owners and finding out what's interesting about them and their business even, because, everything we mentioned before, just because you're in marketing doesn't mean you do everything in marketing. You're like
Right.
finding out what you do, where your specialty is, drilling down into the deep areas of your chosen field. Those are things that I may not know about, and I find that fascinating. But I don't really want to go into a crowd and talk to you. Like, if you want to meet, like, I'm here.
Yeah. So, I understand that. So you want a smaller setting with fewer people. No, I completely get that. So, yeah, like I said,
and nothing irritates me more when I walk in, sit down, and they go, "Here's my packet."
Yeah.
Of all their here's their welcome letter. Here's their thing. This is how you apply for the thing. This is how much. This is the pricing. Like, I don't even mail it to me.
I do the same thing. I'm like, email me that, because like if you put down a tire, I've had some that I've gone into, back when I first started. I haven't had it in a while, thank God. I guess I sort of narrowed down like who it is I'm having one-to-ones with, and so like at the beginning it was everybody. So I've had a lot of them in the beginning when I would go meet with somebody at a coffee shop. And they were like working on their laptop or whatever when I walked in. Oh, hey, you want to go get some coffee real quick? Or okay, go grab it. And we sit down. And what they were typing on was their presentation to me the whole time. And so he just turns his computer, you know what I mean? And we were like, well, we started back in and this is what we do. And here's the numbers and analytics and yada, 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 yada. You get results. And I'm like, man, you're saying all the red flag words to me, and I don't care about any of this. I just want to know. I want to know more about like who you are, what you do, and like if you're just telling me, if you're talking like you've got a multi-level marketing business. You know what I mean? Like when I can nail you when you're selling me something that's a multi-level marketing. Oh my God, yeah, it seems like that's the worst. Nothing against anybody that does that. I mean, if you do it and you're successful, go for it. But like I really don't care to hear anything about it. I hate multi-level marketing. It is a scheme, but people, while they're deep in it, oh man, they will defend it to the death until the day that they realize, oh, you know what, I could probably just start my own business, or I can actually make better money doing this or this or this, and then leave it. And they're like, well, that was a step up to where I wanted to get. And I was like, yeah, you were defending this to the death a few months ago, saying it was your own personal business because that's what they sold you the idea on, but it's not. Anyways, I'm going on a rant, but anyways, yeah. So like, if you're preparing something that obviously came from a corporate office, or I mean, they're like that tells. So I guess let me address that then. So if you are the leader of a business and you have several employees that go out and that's their job to go meet with people and have these one-to-ones, don't just focus on the corporate, like you said, the slideshows, the presentation, the books and all that stuff, the printed materials. Don't start off with that. It's good for them to have that, to have a binder full of information if the person wants to see it that they want to meet with, but that person's not interested in that right off the bat, right? They want to say, hey, I'm this person, Okay, well, tell me a little bit about yourself. But you didn't prepare that person for that.
In today's market, I would almost, let's say that my business got so much where I was actually hiring people to do that, I would almost hire my sales team. Yeah. And then hire my sales team like some PR people. And then PR people go out and make friends. And then if someone's a good solid lead, they've already made that connection. They've already have that friendship, because that's all they're doing is socializing. And then they can say, oh, well, Bob can tell you this. Yeah. And then just kind of be a liaison like that. So you almost just don't even put that salesperson in front of someone at first. That would be, to me, I think that's kind of where we're going. And I think we'll start seeing that as actually a job description, as being that person who goes out and meets people and gets and has an interesting story and likes to talk to people. Then qualify those leads that way.
I mean, that's what most of like I know several businesses that do this. It's like have a marketing position inside of their company. They call it marketing, the marketing director of their businesses. And these people don't do like the marketing that I do, you know what I mean, which is like building the assets and all that stuff to work with. What their job is to go out and talk to the clients or potential clients or somebody that they're partnered with, like my friend works for ServPro, and so her job is to go out and even talk to like the insurance companies and keep good relationships. And she's awesome at it, so good at being a personable person, you know, putting that person in first. How are you? Oh, here I brought you some this, and just want to make sure you're having a great day, that type of thing. It's awesome having those people there. And so I think you're right. I think the more, especially with this shift that we've been talking about with employers being being the lucky ones if they get employees. We definitely they're definitely going to want somebody that can actually carry a great attitude that represents them. It is also an interesting person, not just a salesperson, but somebody that can actually genuinely make a connection with people.
We focus so much on having sales experience, and although I think when you're hiring a salesperson that has some benefit, but it almost be better just to hire a cheerleader.
It really is.
Hire someone who's been in some type of interesting field that's just a very likable person.
Yeah.
To be able to do that, because they don't need to know your business necessarily in and out to be able to be selling on themselves and selling on the company culture that they're trying to get across to these people.
Yeah.
So there's been a shift as to what we expect in business these days, and not every business is catching on.
No, yeah, for sure. No, I understand that completely. Like I'll volunteer at the monthly meetings at the chamber that I'm involved in, and I always choose the drinks to serve the drinks. And so there's a table out there where I've got whatever teas and water and all that stuff there. But it's because it's a table where everybody has to go. So like I'm making conversation, making fun, just joking around, whatever it is.
Working the room.
Yeah, just working. But I'm staying stationary. Everybody else is coming to me. But like it's so crazy, like the difference of like the personalities that come through. You know what I'm saying? Like some people don't even want to look at you.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. But I'm like, hey, well, you got a choice of it. Here's the non-caffeinated. Here's the caffeinated. Are you gonna make the healthy choice today? Is it gonna be water, or you want a lot of sugar in your tea? I'm just messing with them. And so like some people, a lot of them play back. They laugh and they appreciate that. And so you build a connection between those people. But there's the ones that just hey, I'm strictly here because I have to be, because I'm supposed to be selling things. It's like I can tell.
Yeah.
I can tell. Yeah, right, exactly.
Go and take tea. You don't want to come back.
Yeah. But the craziest thing is like I'm more likely to do business with somebody that has a fun attitude or you know what I mean, is somebody that I can have a conversation with. Right. So I don't know. My most hated like answer to a question is like, what do you do for fun? And then like they're like,
network.
I don't know. I don't really know. It's like, man, you don't have a personal life. You don't do anything outside of like. There's another show I was gonna tell you about. I think it's called Severance. And what is it on? It's on Apple TV. So Severance it's very interesting. So we haven't figured out what's going on yet. I think a new episode's out today. But these people that work at this company have agreed to have something embedded in their brain to where it kicks on. Let's say, so the person that works at this building, they go to the elevator, and once they get to the floor that they work on, their life outside of the building is forgotten about. And this other, like the split type of personality, where it's just the person that they are inside the job, turns on. And they're able to do the work, and they don't really know. So they're called the innies and the outies. So the innies are the ones that are in the building, the outside version of themselves. And then whenever they clock out, go to the elevator, go back to the ground floor. It's just like they woke up in the same place where they were when they walked in the elevator.
So like if their kid has cancer and their dog died, when they walk in,
they have no recollection on the inside.
So, okay.
And same thing with the outside, and like they have no recollection of whatever happened on the inside as a job. And so, like, I know it's obviously, to me, like I'm seeing it, it's obviously a commentary on like how we treat our work and jobs, and like we cut it off as if we're two different people, and it's like, I hear people say it all the time, check your baggage at the door, don't bring your personal problems into work and all this stuff, but you're a human being, you know what I mean? Rather than doing that, you're a health person, you're all about physical health, but also mental health. Obviously, if somebody is struggling with something mentally and it's your employee, you should have a program or help them out in any way that you possibly can to provide them the mental health help that they need to perform the job.
Provide them with I hate this word, but it applies right here, but provide them a safe space to come to you and say, I can't compartmentalize today.
Yeah.
And then they can either go get their PTO or do something, but if they feel like they have to be on all the time in order to keep that job, then they're going to put that less than 100% face in front of your clients. And I mean, I've been in jobs where I'm like, I can't go tell them that I'm going through this because they don't care.
Yeah.
So if you do care, then you go, you just like you're going to get that client to, that person that wanted to become a client, you're going to get that employee to become a raving fan.
Right. And I mean, I get it, like, if you don't, I mean, like, as a supervisor or an employer or whatever, like, not wanting to deal with that, I completely get that. I'm 100% that person. Like, I can be compassionate about, like, hearing people's, stuff, but if it's like, man, you come in here with a new problem every day. You know what I mean? It's like, just fix it. Because I'm the type of person where it's like, if it was me, I would do this, 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 and this. But the reality is that, like, not everybody's wired that way. Everybody's wired differently. And so, like, I'm going to do whatever I absolutely need to do in order to get over this. But a lot of people don't know how to do that. And that's why we have, mental health professionals. That's why it's a completely separate field from, every other type of health professional field. But, yeah, so I don't know. We took so many tangents once again during this episode. So we were supposed to be staying on one-to-ones, and then we had a one-to-one ourselves, and we went everywhere else around the world. So
that is the thing, yeah. That's
the thing. So I guess that's the feel for our podcast. It's like, stay for one subject, and you'll see a whole lot of other things. Yeah. You'll find a lot of other things going on. So,
but it's fun as usual.
Yeah.
And I appreciate your input. I think that our audience will as well.
Yeah.
Like I said, that was a question that actually came up, and I thought, hey, I've been doing it long enough where it really wasn't like, what do I do for me? I don't even remember the first time I had a question about what to do. Because I've been doing it for so long, but everyone has that beginning space of how do I, as my business, go forth and talk to people and not come across as a salesperson, not come across as some kind of other whatever, and be likable enough to attract their business or attract their referral, without doing all those other things. And it's obvious to us, but it's not obvious to everyone.
Right. Exactly.
So be authentic, like people.
It's hilarious to me. There's something like, be a person.
Yeah, be a human.
You have a good one-to-one, be a person.
Yep.
All right, that's it. I mean, it's that simple. But I mean, I guess it's so complicated because we overcomplicate things as people. We overcomplicate everything, and we're like, okay, well, I'm supposed to be this person. No, stop right there. You're supposed to be you. Be you. Yes. Good Lord. All right. Well, we'll shut this one down.
Okay.
If you are a video watcher on YouTube, then you can also find us on all of the podcast streaming services around the world. And if you're listening to a podcast streaming service, no matter where it's at, there's also YouTube videos that are being put up. And so we keep, like I said, every week we keep getting on different channels. As far as like the streaming services, like I said, Facebook's got their own right now. So I got a new program to where it's a kind of like Hootsuite. You know how you can bring in all your different social channels, but I can also bring in the RSS feed on mine on for our podcast and like keep track of a lot of different things. It's really cool. So might have some good things coming up. I don't know.
And next time I'll have different lighting again.
Different lighting. I know we change the lighting every time. It's fun.
We're gonna dial it in and get it perfect.
You're gonna get the light right overhead, and then it's gonna shine. I'm gonna have to get like some sort of makeup or something for the top of my head because yeah. Well, until next time, keep your business healthy.